So in this video, we will talk about three things. We'll talk about the last sensor, the water flow sensor, which I'm using as an airflow sensor. We'll talk about the LEDs, the LED system here, and also we'll talk a little bit about the game. So let's start with the water flow sensor. So it's mainly used and bought as a water flow sensor, but I'm using it as an airflow. So how does it work? When you blow, there's a switch inside that goes on and off. And what I do, again, I use the control system, my infrared sensors, to trigger window. A window here starts when level 1 is triggered. The ball goes through level 1. I open a window of time, and then I start calculating how many times did the water flow sensor go from on and off as a switched from on and off. It would be around, usually after a blow, about 200 times. It depends on the airflow source, but an average. So when the ball goes up and then comes down, when the ball again hits the level 1 and goes to rest, that's when again I simply close the window. That's what you would think. But actually I don't close it when it hits level 1. I give about a 500 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds to 500 milliseconds extra window to actually capture the extra alternations of the water flow sensor, which I'm using again as an airflow sensors. And that will take us to the game. So let's talk about the game a little bit. So I have a connection.py file that connects the airflow device to the Exer game. So I send commands mode 1 and mode 2, and there's a mode 0, just like idle mode. When it's mode 0, nothing goes through here and here. And then through serial, when I'm giving mode 1, where the character needs to jump. So the user needs to blow, and the character jumps. I send data from the device to the game. And same for mode 2, when the character needs to defeat an enemy through shooting laser, I send data featuring how many times the ball was up here. And for each second, I'm shooting a laser. So it's pretty standard, but really efficient if you think about it. And so finally, the game will give feedback. So based on the data and the values that I'm getting and how the gameplay was, I can make a mathematical function that gives back in percentage how likely are you to have respiratory problems. Now finally, I left the LED to the last thing to talk about is the LED display, because I'm using it mainly for monitoring and for fun display. So this is, as you can see, there is a fun display here, but aside from that, I'm using 4 LEDs to monitor. Think about it as debugging. So whenever I'm having an issue with a sensor, I can rely on my LEDs. Each LED, mainly the red, the yellow, and the green, corresponds to one level, or corresponds to one sensor. In different sense, I'm using them whenever I want to see if the system is working, if everything is going fine. I use the LEDs to see, is this sensor working? I use the LEDs. So if the sensor is working, I will get maybe two LEDs to be on. If the sensor is not, then 2 LEDs to be off. And that's how it works. But the code for the LEDs are separate from the code that I'm using for the game. It's mainly for debugging purposes. So in the GitHub repository, you won't actually see that code. But you can reach out to me if you want to get that code. Thank you.